Welcome back to the show. Good morning. It is June 8th, 2018. Happy Friday morning. We had a lot of games last night, so let's jump right on in. Just to recap here, we started with a $10,000 bankroll. Our current record before last night's games was 5-8 for plus $227 for a total bankroll of $10,221. We bet 1 unit per game unless the computer system tells us to do more. So 1 unit at the current moment is $100. Let's get right into the games where we had the Dodgers versus Pittsburgh. In this game, the computer took the number 8 and went under. And unfortunately, it didn't work out very well because the Dodgers scored 8 runs by themselves. They didn't cooperate. And this game turned out to be a dud with all the late scoring at the end of the game, with 11 runs being scored after the 5th inning. This game was a loser. Next game up, we had the Chicago White Sox versus the Minnesota Twins. Now, the White Sox have pretty much dominated this series thus far. Game 1 of the series, they were crushing them until the 9th inning. They won the last 2 games, so they're on a 2-game winning streak versus the Twins. So we had the White Sox for 3 units at plus 188, and unfortunately, they couldn't get it done. They end up splitting the series. The White Sox lose 2-7 off of Minnesota scoring 7 runs unanswered by the 4th inning. Chicago tried to mount a little comeback in the 6th, but only could muster 2 runs. So this one was a loser for minus 3 units. Next up, we go to St. Louis. We had Miami after whipping that ass the night before, where they had scored 11 runs, I believe, over the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis wasn't having that shit today, where they jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the 1st inning and never looked back. Miami tried to get something going in the 6th by scoring 1 run. We had Miami plus 180, and that turned out to be a loser for 1 unit. Final score was 1-4 to St. Louis. But in the good news in this game, we also had the under 8.5. And with the score being 1-4 in the favor of St. Louis, that one turns into a winner, baby. In the last early game of the day, we had the Phillies versus the Cubbies in Chicago, in Wrigley Field. The computer says take 8 and go under, and that's what we did, and that's what won. They did make it interesting, however, Philly and the Cubs, because both of these teams scored 7 runs by the top of the 6th inning, and then went scoreless right after. This one was a winner. Philly, Chicago, scoring 7 runs. Cash it. The next game is probably the most heartbreaking game I've seen in a while. We had Baltimore versus Toronto. We had Baltimore playing for 3 units. So 3% of our bankroll at plus 137 pretty much was going great. Baltimore scored in the 1st inning, and then they jumped out to a 3-run lead. So Baltimore was winning 4-1 going into the 9th inning, where the Orioles literally shit the bed when Brad Brock gave up 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning for Toronto to tie the game. And then in the bottom of the 10th inning for the Blue Jays, Hernandez hustled a leadoff double against Castro, and then Justin Smoak was intentionally walked. Kendrys Morales, Luke Mail struck out before Diaz lined the game-winning hit to the left. This game was a heartbreaker. This game hurt, but this game doesn't matter in the long term. This game was a loser.
I don't think that phone's going to work anymore.
Next game up, coming off a fresh ass whooping last night, Detroit was taking on the Boston Red Sox. We had Detroit plus 150 plus $150, $100 to win $150, and the Tigers prevail 7-2 by returning that ass whooping Boston Red Sox in Fenway. Next up, we had a very short underdog here. We had a home underdog. We had the Tampa Bay Rays at plus 101 versus the Seattle Mariners. Seattle jumped all over Tampa Bay in the beginning, but the Rays gave a huge comeback in the ninth, but unfortunately it didn't work out for us. They scored 3 runs in the ninth, but lost 5-4, so this one was a loser. And then the last game of the night, we had Kansas City going to the West Coast and then going to Oakland to take on the A's. We had the Royals plus 141. They couldn't get shit done last night, so they lost. This one was a loser, and that's it.
Jung Ho showing some emotion in the dugout.
Oh, there goes the gum.
So our final record for the day was 3-6 for -490. For an updated total of our bankroll is $9,734 for a year to date of -269. So last night was a heartbreaker, especially with the Baltimore Orioles blowing it at the very last second. That was literally the difference between us having a winning day and a losing day. But overall, it doesn't matter if we won or if we lost, because this is just one day out of thousands of days we have. We still have over $9,700 in our bankroll, and we have a bunch of games up for grabs today. So let's brush this off. Let's get back up, and I will be back later today with the afternoon picks. Y'all have a great day. Book it.